Governor Jeff Landry declares a state of emergency, citing a shortage of law enforcement officers across the state.
And as Chris Welty reports, some question the governor's goal and what the declaration means.
Governor Jeff Landry's emergency declaration says, like the nation, Louisiana is experiencing a shortage of police officers on all levels of law enforcement. The Louisiana Sheriff's Association estimates sheriff departments alone are down nearly 1,800 deputies. The governor believes record low employment and an increase in police response times is a threat to lives, property, and safety of Louisianians.
There is a police shortage, not just here in Louisiana, but across this nation. There's also a nurses shortage, there's a teacher shortage, and many other professional shortages of people that we depend on, and I just don't know what the intent was behind this emergency declaration.
State Senator Royce Duplessis believes it's important for the state to look at ways to retain and recruit officers. Duplessis acknowledges that the governor's declaration does not make any requests of agencies ahead of the special session on crime.
None of the policies that the governor is proposing or supporting will actually make us safer. None of them deal with front-end root causes of crime. None of them deal with mental health and behavioral health, violence intervention, housing, education, job opportunities, wages, and things like that.
Raphael Goyeneche with the Metropolitan Crime Commission served on the governor's transition task force for public safety and crime. This is the first time Goyeneche has seen a governor declare a state of emergency because of a shortage of officers.
There was some discussions about taking a look at offering stronger immunity from police officers and sheriff deputies being sued. So that may be one of the areas that's looked at.
Goyeneche believes the upcoming crime session will address how to bolster forces across the state. Goyeneche says lawmakers might look at money contributed to commissioned officers and funding for regional crime labs to free up money for agencies.
I think that this is framing this issue, and we're going to find out the solutions that the governor is proposing in the legislative package that's going to be introduced on Monday.
The special legislative session on crime starts Monday afternoon at 1 and must end by 6 p.m. on March 6. Lauren.